The Massey Ferguson warranty denial that united 14 counties full script, 16,300 words. The transmission locked at 847 hours, not during light work, not during transport. Mid-pull, third pass, 18 feet deep in clay soil with a 12-bottom plow behind a brand new Massey Ferguson 8S 265. Jake Brennan felt it through the seat before he heard it. That single, brutal shudder that separates a mechanical hiccup from a catastrophic failure. He throttled down. The engine kept running, but the tractor wouldn't move, forward or reverse. The CVT display showed error codes he'd never seen before. He sat there for 4 minutes, hands still on the wheel, staring at the hood of a machine he'd owned for 9 months. A machine that cost him $287,000. A machine that still had dealer tags zip-tied to the grab rails. He called the dealer before he called his wife. Brennan Farm sat on 1,840 acres outside Worthington, Minnesota. Third-generation operation. Corn and soybeans. Jake's grandfather started with 240 acres and a used farmall. His father expanded to 920 and ran nothing but Massey Ferguson. After a 27-75, survived a field fire in 1989 and still finished the season. Jake took over in 2014 with a fleet of aging 7700 series tractors and a loan structure his accountant called manageable. He wasn't a gambler. He didn't chase horsepower for ego. But by 2023, his oldest tractor had 11,400 hours, and the repair bills were bleeding him. He needed new iron. He ran the numbers 6 times. He talked to 4 dealers. He sat in competitors' cabs at farm shows and listened to sales pitches that sounded like religious conversions. In the end, he stayed loyal. Massey Ferguson 8S 265, 265 horsepower, CVT transmission, continuously variable, infinite speed control. The kind of precision that saves fuel and reduces soil compaction. The technology was proven in Europe. The dealer told him it was the future. Jake believed him. He signed the papers in February 2023, took delivery in March, put it to work immediately. 847 hours later, it died in his field. The dealer sent a tech the next morning. Young guy, maybe 26, with a diagnostic laptop and a company jacket that still had creases from the package. He plugged into the tractor's computer and scrolled through fault codes for 20 minutes, while Jake stood in the turned soil, arms crossed, watching. Transmission's toast, the tech said. Complete failure. Internal components. It's gonna need a full replacement. Jake felt his stomach drop. It's under warranty. Yeah, should be. The tech kept scrolling. But corporate's gonna want to see the data logs before they approve it. What data logs? The tractor records everything. How you drive it, RPMs, load, throttle position. If they think it was operator error, they won't cover it. Jake stared at him. Operator error. I'm just telling you what they look for. I've been running tractors since I was 12. The tech didn't look up. I'll submit the claim. You'll hear back in a few days. He didn't hear back in a few days. He called the dealer on day 6. They transferred him twice. The service manager finally picked up. We submitted everything, the manager said. Corporate's reviewing it. Reviewing what? The transmission failed. It's got 847 hours. I understand, Jake, but this is the process. They're looking at the telematics data. What's there to look at? I don't know yet. Just give it time. Jake hung up and walked out to the machine shed. The 8S sat where the flatbed had left it, mud still caked on the tires. He climbed into the cab and sat in the seat. Everything looked perfect. Clean glass, new upholstery, the smell of fresh hydraulic fluid. He'd babied this machine, never missed a service interval, never pushed it past spec, never let it idle cold. He didn't know it yet, but Massey Ferguson Corporate had already made their decision. The denial letter arrived on day 11. It came via email. 3 paragraphs. Professional tone. No apology. After reviewing the telematics data associated with Unit VIN Haber XXXXXXX, Massey Ferguson has determined that the transmission failure resulted from operational practices inconsistent with manufacturer guidelines. Specifically, data indicates sustained high-load operation at insufficient warm-up intervals, aggressive throttle application under load, and repeated engagement of the CVT system outside optimal parameters. As these practices constitute operator-induced wear, the failure is not covered under the standard warranty. Estimated repair cost, $43,200. Please contact your dealer to schedule service. Jake read it 3 times. Then he called the dealer. "This is bullshit," he said. The service manager didn't argue. "I know, Jake. I didn't abuse this machine. I believe you." "Then why won't they cover it?" "Because the data shows." "The data shows what? That I used it like a tractor? That I pulled a plow? That's what it's for." The manager was quiet for a moment. "You're not the first." Jake stopped. "What?" "You're not the first 8S owner with this failure. I've seen 3 in the last 18 months. Same transmission, same failure point, same denial. And corporate won't acknowledge it." "No." "Why not?" "Because if they admit it's a manufacturing defect, they have to recall every 8S series tractor in North America. That's tens of millions of dollars." Jake sat down. "So they blame the operator. Every time. He didn't have $43,200. Not liquid. Not without pulling from operating capital he'd need for spring inputs." His accountant laid it out plainly. Pay the repair and risk not being able to afford seed and fertilizer, or finance the repair and add another loan payment to an already tight structure. "You could sell the tractor," the accountant said. "With a blown transmission, who's going to buy it? You'd take a loss. I'd take a $150,000 loss." The accountant didn't argue. They both knew it was true. Jake went home that night and told his wife. They sat at the kitchen table with the letter between them. She read it twice, then looked up. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know." "Can you appeal?" "To who?" "Corporate already decided." She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "You should tell people." "Tell people what?" "What they did, what they're doing." Jake shook his head. "Nobody cares. Farmers care." He posted it on Facebook 2 days later. He didn't plan it. He didn't write a manifesto. He just took a picture of the denial letter, typed 3 paragraphs about what happened, and posted it to a regional farming group with 4,800 members. "Massey Ferguson denied my warranty claim on a 9-month-old tractor. They're calling it operator abuse. I've been farming for 22 years. I've never blown a transmission. The dealer says I'm the 4th owner with this exact failure. Corporate won't acknowledge it. $43,000 repair. If you're thinking about buying an 8S series, you should know what you're risking." He hit post and went to bed. By morning, it had 340 comments. Most of them were angry. "Same thing happened to my neighbor. Different model, same excuse. Corporate doesn't care about small operators. They only protect the dealerships. This is why I switched to Deere." But some of the comments were different. "I'm an independent mechanic. I've rebuilt 4 of these transmissions. It's a casting defect in the valve body. Massey knows about it. I have documentation of the same failure on my 8S 245. One's in 100 hours. Corporate denied me too. Called it abuse. If enough of us go public, they'll have to respond." And then, buried in the thread, one comment that changed everything. "I know a lawyer in Iowa who handled a class action against AGCO for a Fendt hydraulic issue. If we can prove a pattern, we might have a case." Jake screenshotted it, sent it to the dealer. The service manager called him 20 minutes later. "Jake, you need to be careful." "Careful of what?" "Corporate's watching this. If you push too hard, they'll make it worse. Worse than $43,000. They could blacklist you, flag your account, make it so no dealer will work with you." Jake was quiet. "They'd do that?" "I've seen it happen." He didn't delete the post. He left it up. And over the next 48 hours, something started to happen. Farmers from other counties started sharing it. Some added their own stories. A mechanic in South Dakota posted photos of 3 identical transmission failures he'd repaired in the last year. All 8S series, all under 1,500 hours, all denied by corporate. A parts manager in Iowa confirmed he'd ordered the same replacement components 6 times in 18 months. The thread grew. 600 comments. 800. People tagged Massey Ferguson's official page. The company didn't respond. Then, on day 4, a farmer named Carl Dietrich from McLeod County posted a comment that stopped the thread cold. "I'm done talking. I'm driving to their regional office in Fargo. Anyone want to come?" He posted his phone number. Within 2 hours, 14 people had called him. Within 6 hours, he had commitments from farmers in 4 counties. By the end of the day, the plan was set. Saturday morning, Massey Ferguson's North American Regional Headquarters in Fargo, North Dakota. Bring your tractor if you can. Bring your paperwork if you can't. Jake didn't organize it. He didn't ask for it. but his name was now attached to it. And Massey Ferguson corporate was paying attention. The first call came Friday afternoon. Corporate number. Jake almost didn't answer. Mr. Brennan, this is David Kellerman with Massey Ferguson Customer Relations. I'm calling regarding your recent social media activity. Jake sat down. Okay. We've reviewed your claim again. We'd like to offer a settlement. What kind of settlement? We'll cover 50% of the repair cost if you remove your post and sign a non-disclosure agreement. Jake didn't respond immediately. Kellerman continued. We believe this is a fair resolution. It allows you to get your tractor repaired without the full financial burden, and it prevents further misunderstandings. Misunderstandings, Jake repeated. The telematics data clearly indicates. I'm not signing anything. Kellerman's tone shifted. Mr. Brennan, I'd encourage you to reconsider. This offer won't be available indefinitely. Then let it expire. If you continue down this path, you may find it difficult to receive support from our dealer network in the future. Jake felt his jaw tighten. Is that a threat? It's a reality. We have policies for customers who engage in public campaigns against the company. I posted the truth. You posted a one-sided narrative that's now being used to organize a protest. That's not constructive dialogue. Jake stood up. You want constructive dialogue? Fix the transmission. Admit it's a defect. Stop blaming farmers for your engineering problems. Kellerman was silent for a moment. Then, I'll note your decision. Have a good day, Mr. Brennan. The line went dead. Saturday morning, Jake left his farm at 5:30 a.m. It was a 3-hour drive to Fargo. He didn't bring his tractor. It was still disabled. But he brought the denial letter, the repair estimate, and a folder of printed comments from other farmers with identical failures. He didn't know what to expect. Maybe a dozen tractors. Maybe just Carl Dietrich and a few other angry operators making a symbolic gesture. He didn't expect what he saw when he turned onto 45th Street. Tractors, dozens of them, lined up on both sides of the road leading to Massey Ferguson's regional office. Red paint, Massey Ferguson badges, some new, some 30 years old, operators standing beside them, some with signs, most without, just standing, waiting. Jake parked his truck and walked toward the building. A man in his 60s stepped forward, flannel shirt, Massey cap. You Brennan? Jake nodded. Carl Dietrich, McLeod County. He shook Jake's hand. Hell of a turnout. Jake looked down the line. How many? Last I counted, 170 tractors. Farmers from 14 counties. Some drove 6 hours. Jake felt something tighten in his chest. I didn't ask for this. We know. That's why we're here. The protest wasn't chaotic. There was no yelling, no aggression. The tractors just sat there, engines off, parked in perfect formation. Farmers stood in small groups, talking quietly. Some compared notes, others just drank coffee and waited. A woman in her 50s walked up to Jake. She had a clipboard and a camera around her neck. You're Jake Brennan? Yeah. Susan Kowalski. I run a 1,200-acre operation in Stearns County. My 8S.305 failed at 1,340 hours. Same transmission, same denial. Cost me $47,000 out of pocket because I couldn't afford to wait for an appeal. Jake didn't know what to say. She kept talking. Corporate told me I overloaded it. I asked them to show me where in the operator's manual it says a 305 horsepower tractor can't pull a 16-row planter. They never responded. She handed him the clipboard. I've been collecting names, farmers who've had the same failure, documented cases. So far, I've got 23. Jake looked at the list. Names, counties, failure dates, repair costs, some over $50,000. Why didn't you go public, he asked. Because I didn't think anyone would listen. Then I saw your post. At 9 a.m., a Massey Ferguson corporate representative came outside, mid-40s, suit and tie. He looked at the tractors, then at the crowd, then pulled out his phone. Carl walked up to him. We'd like to speak with someone about warranty denials. The representative didn't look at him. This is private property. You're trespassing. We're on the public road. Some of your vehicles are blocking access. Then move them when you're ready to talk. The representative went back inside. 15 minutes later, 2 police cruisers arrived. The officers stepped out, looked at the scene, and talked with Carl for a few minutes. One of them made a phone call. Then they walked down the line of tractors, talking to operators. One officer stopped in front of a 7700 series with 14,000 hours on the meter. The farmer standing beside it was in his 70s, worn Carhartt jacket, hands like weathered leather. "How long you been running Massey Ferguson?" the officer asked. "Since 1976. "That's a long time." "It is." "Why'd you come today?" The old farmer looked at the tractor, then at the officer. "Because a deal's supposed to mean something. You buy their iron, you expect them to stand behind it. When they don't, you got a problem." The officer nodded, wrote something down, moved on. No arrests, no confrontation. The tractors stayed. By noon, the story had reached local news. A TV crew from Fargo showed up. They interviewed Carl, they interviewed Jake, they filmed the tractors. "What do you want Massey Ferguson to do?" the reporter asked. Carl answered, "Acknowledge the defect. Honor the warranties. Stop blaming farmers for engineering failures. And if they don't, then everyone watching this will know what kind of company they are." The reporter turned to Jake. "You started this with a Facebook post. Did you expect it to go this far?" Jake shook his head. "I just wanted my tractor fixed." "Do you regret posting it?" "No. Even if it damages your relationship with the company?" Jake looked at the line of tractors, at the farmers standing in the cold, at the disabled 8S sitting 180 miles away in his field. "The relationship was already damaged," he said. "They just didn't know it yet." The segment aired that evening. By Sunday morning, it was on agricultural news sites. By Monday, it had 400,000 views on YouTube. Farming forums lit up, comment sections filled with similar stories. Mechanics posted failure documentation. Parts suppliers confirmed unusual order volumes for 8S transmission components. Massey Ferguson's social media accounts went silent. Their PR team didn't issue a statement. But behind the scenes, phones were ringing. Dealers started calling corporate. Some were angry, some were scared. All of them had the same message: this isn't going away. A dealer in Nebraska emailed his regional rep, "I've got 4 8S units on my lot. Nobody's touching them. If you don't fix this, I'm stuck with $1.2 million in unsellable inventory." A dealer in Kansas called his sales manager. "I just lost a $340,000 sale because the buyer saw the Fargo video. He went with Case IH." The pressure wasn't just coming from farmers anymore. It was coming from the people who sold Massey Ferguson tractors. And that changed everything. Massey Ferguson's stock price dropped 2.3% on Monday. By Tuesday, agricultural analysts were writing about it. One report called it a public relations crisis with material financial implications. Another noted that ATCO, Massey Ferguson's parent company, was already dealing with declining market share in North America. The last thing they needed was a viral story about warranty denials and grassroots protests. Corporate called Jake again Monday afternoon. Different voice. Senior VP of North American Operations. "Mr. Brennan, my name is Richard Voss. I want to resolve this." Jake didn't say anything. "We're prepared to cover your full repair cost. No NDA, no admission of fault. We'll also review the other cases that have been brought to our attention." "Review them how?" "We'll re-examine the telematics data with updated parameters. If we find that the failures were due to component defects rather than operational error, we'll honor those warranties as well." "And the farmers who already paid out of pocket," Voss hesitated, "we'll evaluate those on a case-by-case basis." "That's not good enough. Mr. Brennan, you need to issue a service bulletin, acknowledge the defect, offer retrofits or replacements for affected units, and you need to compensate the operators who've already paid for repairs. That's a significant financial commitment. Then you shouldn't have built a faulty transmission." Voss was quiet. Then, "I'll bring it to the executive team. You've got 72 hours. After that, this goes national." Jake hung up. His hands were shaking. He just threatened a billion-dollar corporation with a timeline they might not meet. But he also knew he wasn't bluffing. The next 72 hours were the longest of Jake's life. He didn't sleep much. He kept checking his phone. Farmers kept calling him. Some wanted updates. Some just wanted to thank him. A few warned him that corporate might retaliate. Carl called Wednesday morning. "You hear anything?" "Not yet." "Clock's running." "I know. You think they'll actually do it?" Jake looked out the window at his fields. Spring planting was 3 weeks behind. Every day that passed cost him money. "I don't know. What if they don't? Then we make it worse." Carl laughed. "How?" "Class action, national media, shareholder pressure, whatever it takes. You got the stomach for that? Jake was quiet. Then, I don't have a choice. Massey Ferguson issued a statement Wednesday morning, 11:43 a.m. Central Time. Jake was in his truck when the email came through. It was careful, lawyered, but it was something. Massey Ferguson is committed to supporting our customers and ensuring the reliability of our equipment. After reviewing recent reports of CVT transmission failures in certain 8S series tractors, we have identified a manufacturing inconsistency affecting a limited number of units produced between March 2022 and November 2023. Effective immediately, we are issuing a voluntary service action to inspect and, if necessary, replace affected components at no cost to the customer. Owners who have already paid for related repairs may be eligible for reimbursement. We apologize for any inconvenience and remain dedicated to earning the trust of the agricultural community. It wasn't a recall, it wasn't an admission of fault, but it was a crack in the wall. Jake read it 3 times, then he called Carl. You see it? Yeah. Is it enough? Jake thought about the 23 names on Susan Kowalski's list, the farmers who'd driven 6 hours to Fargo, the operators who'd already paid tens of thousands out of pocket. It's a start, he said. The dealer called him that afternoon. Corporate just authorized your repair, full replacement, 0 cost. We can have the parts here by Friday. Jake felt something release in his chest. Okay. Jake, I'm sorry this happened. It's not your fault. I should have pushed harder. You did what you could. The service manager was quiet. Then, a lot of guys are getting approvals. Corporate's scrambling. They know they screwed up. Good. You did something here. You know that, right? Jake didn't respond. He just hung up and sat in his truck, staring at the field he hadn't finished plowing. The transmission was replaced 4 weeks later. Full factory components, 0 cost. The dealer installed it personally. Jake was back in the field by mid-May, 3 weeks late, but still within the window. Other farmers started getting calls. Some were approved immediately, others fought for weeks. Susan Kowalski got full reimbursement for her $47,000 repair. Carl Dietrich's neighbor got his 8S 245 fixed under warranty after a second denial. But not everyone won. Some claims were still rejected. Some farmers gave up. The voluntary service action covered transmissions manufactured during a specific date range, but failures outside that window were still treated as operator error. Carl kept a list, 58 confirmed warranty approvals, 31 reimbursements for prior repairs, 14 tractors still under review. Not everyone won. But enough did that the message was clear. Massey Ferguson had blinked. 6 months later, Jake was at a farm equipment auction in Redwood Falls. He wasn't looking to buy, just watching, seeing what iron was moving. A Massey Ferguson 8S 305 came up. Low hours, clean. The auctioneer started at $240,000. Nobody bid. He dropped to $220,000. One hand went up, then another. It sold for $198,000, about $80,000 below book value. Jake watched the buyer walk up to claim it. Young guy, maybe 30. He looked nervous. Jake walked over. You know about the transmission issue? The guy nodded. Yeah, but they fixed it, right? Some of them. You think I made a mistake? Jake looked at the tractor. Red paint, Massey Ferguson badge, the same machine that had nearly bankrupted him. Just keep the paperwork, Jake said, and don't trust corporate to do the right thing unless you make them. The guy nodded. Shook Jake's hand, drove the tractor onto a trailer. Jake watched him leave. Then he got in his truck and went home. Jake's 8S 265 is still running. 3,400 hours now. No further issues. He services it himself when he can. Still uses the same dealer. The relationship is different now. More cautious, more transactional, but it works. He's not bitter, not triumphant, just careful. Because he knows now what a lot of farmers know. Loyalty only works when it runs both directions. And a brand name doesn't mean anything if the company behind it won't stand behind the iron. Massey Ferguson learned that in 72 hours. Jake Brennan learned it in 847. The 170 farmers who showed up in Fargo didn't teach Massey Ferguson about engineering. They taught them something more important, that when you sell a machine to someone who stakes their livelihood on it, the warranty isn't just a legal document, it's a promise. And in farming, promises still mean something.